Okay, I figured I'd make an update video on the clusters because if you haven't watched already, I made a video. Sorry, I'm a bit sick. You have to watch the first video, which I'll put a link up here or here, I don't know which one. I made a video on how to take apart 201, 126, 124 clusters. It's all the same in terms of the perspex. I've taken apart a few now. I've taken apart a few 201 ones, 208s even, CLKs. I've done a few. But I needed to do the cluster for my station wagon, right? Because I got some new gauges for it to fit, right? But there's no point in fitting the gauges if I've got the ugly spotting and whatnot in the cluster. I wanted to respray the cluster housing to make it look nice again. Now, I went to do what I've done with so many other clusters, and I followed the steps of my video, which was use a knife and go around the outside perimeter of a 124 of the cluster, which I did. But unlike the other clusters, right, which have glue in these corners here and up the top in two spots usually, 124 clusters also have glue in the bottom corners, which I didn't realize. Or at least that's where the glue is held the most, in those points. And because I didn't realize that, I cracked the perspex trying to take it out, which was a big shame. I was very upset about that. So I had to buy a replacement cluster and I tried again. This time it went perfectly smoothly. We've got no cracks. You might see some shimmers, it's just a bit scratched up, but this one is no worries. This one's in very good nick. I managed to not crack it. How I managed to do this, it was really a mix of knife and this plastic spatula. Because it's gentle, it's not brittle like a razor. And what I did is I wedged it around the glass after I used a razor to kind of crack the majority of the glue. I think I mentioned it in my first video, but you have to be able to see the razor blade on the other side of the glass when you stick it through. So if you're looking like this, you should see it on the other side of the glass, just down the bottom where my finger is, down there. So I did that, and then I found that it was still struggling to let go of the top, and on one side it was struggling to let go of the corner. So what I did is on this side where it was easily kind of, pushing out, I wedged this in and very slowly and gently I just pried it around and slowly crack, so on. And it cracked all the glue around it and managed to, well, the cracking is actually the plastic breaking, but that's only where it's glued. So you can see the rough spots, that's where it was glued and that's where it's broken. There you go, see? But now, yeah, that worked. That worked perfectly. The other tip I didn't know until I did it again was remove the inserts for your warning lights. Makes it a lot easier to push from the bottom through the holes and through the temperature, the outside temperature display hole. Makes it a lot easier and also makes it a lot safer. You have a much smaller chance of breaking it if you're pushing it from all points rather than just from one of the points through the gauge holes. So yeah, keep that in mind. That's an update. Make sure you do that if you're working with 124 clusters, and honestly, just do that with all clusters. It will basically fall out once it's fully cracked. You won't need to push it. I really think this is the best method now, using a plastic spatula and just going around very gently prying at it so it pops out on its own. But don't be too rough. You have to be very gentle with it. That's the key.